Capelin is a keystone forage fish in the waters off Atlantic Canada, and a particularly important pulsed resource in this marine food web, as many seabird species rely on the increase in prey abundance brought on by capelin spawning to provision their chicks. Two predominant gull species in coastal Newfoundland are the herring gull and the larger great black-backed gull. Gulls are surface feeders and capable of more than shallow dives, but kleptoparasitism, stealing prey caught by other seabirds, including the Atlantic puffin, a pursuit diver, provides a means of accessing food sources otherwise unavailable to gulls, such as deep water spawning capelin. As dietary generalists, gulls are also known to feed on the adults of smaller seabird species, making puffins a potential target for both predatory and kleptoparasitic attacks by gulls. This past summer, I camped out on James Island, a small island off the northeast coast of Newfoundland, as part of my owner's research project. My objective was to investigate how gull predation on Atlantic puffins varies under changes in capelin availability, which occur throughout the seabird breeding season. And my hypothesis was that the inshore arrival of spawning capelin would influence the gull predation and kleptoparasitism risk on adult Atlantic puffins. To test this hypothesis, I observed gull behavior throughout the breeding season by performing 10-minute-long focal observations of individual herring and great black-backed gulls in 90-minute stints. I also performed puffin carcass surveys, walking a transect line covering approximately half of the island's perimeter, taking note of and marking each carcass encountered. The preliminary results from this research can be seen in my figures 6 and 7. Carcass encounters stalled during the mid-period of the summer when capelin moved inshore to spawn and puffins began chick rearing. New carcasses began to appear once again post-spawning, indicating reduced predation by gulls on Atlantic puffins, while capelin was abundant along the coast. Similarly, the proportion of time spent in aggressive behaviors and within puffin burrowing areas, shown by red here, by members of both gull species dropped from the early to mid-period of the summer, following inshore capelin arrival. And it increased once again in great black-backed gulls during the late period of the summer at the end of capelin spawning. Great black-backed gulls spent an overall greater proportion of time in aggressive behaviors than herring gulls. This was expected as they're the larger of the two species and thus less likely to suffer an injury were an attempted attack to go wrong. These preliminary results suggest that the inshore arrival of capelin leads to decreasing gull predation risk on other seabirds, including Atlantic puffins, a globally threatened species. The capelin spawning period this past summer coincided with the onset of puffin chick rearing, but the capelin spawning period and spawning population size have become increasingly variable in recent years, following a population collapse in the early 90s. In years where capelin spawning begins later in the summer or in smaller magnitude, the gull predation risk might remain constant throughout the breeding season, which could have a notable impact on puffin reproductive success.